So this is a ramble. Levon Helm did some rambles. This isn't like those. All warranties expressed or implied are null and void. This is simply my rambling opinion and rambling monologue on extracting tone from a stringed instrument, concerned mainly with the interface of a mechanism to excite the string, and to some degree, fretting the string. Let's get fretting the string done with first, because it's much easier. If you're playing a low action guitar and you hear a string buzzing while you're playing, especially back here, in chords of the first position, in the heat of battle, sometimes what I'm saying is watch where your finger is and make sure when you're fretting any note, if possible, that you fret it with a reasonable amount of downforce directly in back of the fret, not back here. And sometimes that's what you got to do. And in some cases it won't buzz. But you got a buzzing string, first thing, see, like right here, this one's way back. And I might have to do a little something to get it as far south as possible. It's the main source of buzzing in a low action instrument. Something to keep in mind. That's about it for fretting right now. Most of the action is here. For purposes of illustrating a point, we're going to use the standard of the world. This is a Fender medium pick. It's the standard of the world, and I'm going to have to move the camera for this. It's a lot of work, but I don't think I can do it any other way. So I'm going to take the time. The Fender medium pick. When I'm lost and don't know what to do, at my wit's end, and I need help, I consult my Fender medium. And I advise you, keep this in mind. It's never let me down. That's pretty stinking good. It's a little more angled than I'd like. Okay. We're talking about what happens when you make noise with the string. And my next little minor ramble is that when you make noise by using a pick or your fingers on a string, let's say it's an A string. Normally this would be, but it's tuned up. A 440. In people's minds, the string's going back and forth 440 times a second, but it ain't. When you excite the string, you've started a wave, a main wave, primary wave, and that wave has a frequency of 440 times. In other words, if you could watch it going by for 1 second, you'd see 440 of those little sine wave crests. Now, there are two other waves. Let's talk about that first wave, the 440 wave, going up and down. It crosses, or it has a node right here at the 12th fret. They all do. All strings have a primary node halfway between both ends. It's also the octave. Isn't that great? Where am I here? Yeah, here we are. When you're exciting a string, there's that primary wave that's the frequency of the string, let's say 440. Now, in addition to that, there's a secondary wave and a third wave superimposed, so there's one wave, two more waves riding the first wave. So the second wave is riding the first wave. The third wave is riding the first two waves. Now, those are the three primary waves. All three cross at the 12th fret. I'm just illustrating it on many strings, but if we talk about one, they cross at the 12th fret. Now, two of those three cross at the 5th fret. Where am I here? Just to make sure. And one of those falls out, and the other two of the three cross at the 7th fret. That's why the harmonics are so easy to generate there. Those are the three primary waves that generate the tone, and they have names. Anyway, just looking at those three, isn't it interesting that almost any song in the world is going to consist of the root, the primary wave, one at the 5th fret and one at the 7th fret. Yowza. It's not a coincidence. And I may do another ramble on that. Or do it at the end of this. Now, there are three more waves. There are three primary and three secondary waves that are going up and down the string anytime it's making noise. So the tone created by a vibrating string is really complex. Quite different from the tone from, let's say, an electric organ. Beep! That's one of the subtle things that attract people to the guitar, and the acoustic guitar is probably better at it than even the electric guitar. So, but it's all about the string. Okay. Where's my Fender Medium? Here it is. The heart of this, what I'm saying, is called the angle of attack. It's called a plucked lute. Most stringed instruments of this type, mandolins and banjos and plucked lutes, according to the MIM. Plucking would consist of exciting the string in a way similar to drawing back a bowstring and letting go of it. If we want to pluck it, we're going to grab it with the underside of our fingernail and pull back until it lets go. And pull it back, pull it back, pull it back, boom. Now let's say I pulled it wrong. Where am I here? It'll buzz. Where am I? Wrong string here. No, wrong. It'll buzz, especially back here. Anyway, plucking is hardly ever used in playing the guitar. It's possible. Here's some control. This part is not plucking, this is brushing. But this part is plucking. We're not going to get into that right now. Basically, we're exciting the strings in a way that uses the angle of attack. Not necessarily this little point. I'm rambling now. The angle of attack, basically, if this pick, this real thin side of it, is parallel to the string here, let's call that 0. Now we're going to turn the pick so it's still skinny, but it's skinny vertically and not horizontally. Let's call that 90. Basically, the angle of attack is between 0 and 90 degrees. Let's say 45. Between 30 and 60, it doesn't really hardly matter. Now, what's happening here is there's a percussive interface between the string and the pick. The pick is hitting the string and bouncing off the string. It is not pulling back on that string and letting go in either direction. John Jorgensen plays his gypsy jazz guitar with a polished rock. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was almost completely round. People like Sam Bush play the mandolin either with the big round end of the pick instead of the point, or a round pick about the size of a 50-cent piece. Let's play with the back end of the pick here. somebody gets a thin flat pick, they don't know how to play the guitar much, but they got a guitar. They know how to play the C and the G and the D, and they get the thinnest pick they can because it seems to make sense, and they play it with a 0 pick angle. And what you have is the equivalent of when you're a kid and you stick a baseball card in the spokes of your bicycle. Half of the noise you're hearing is the flopping of the pick against the string. It's a detestable way to play the guitar, and I believe you can have your flat pick, the thin flat pick, confiscated in the state of Arizona if you're playing in a public place and somebody catches you doing it. It's crazy out here. It's Wild West. Anyway, there's no angle of attack involved. It's just not happening. Anyway, let's talk about the angle of attack. You're using this flat pick and doing a kind of a percussive thing. When I used to do this in bluegrass, the capo on the 3rd fret and open E, playing in the key of G, I could feel this thing hitting the string and bouncing back. That's how percussive it is. And we take this away. We put on thumb pick and some finger picks. Now, this works with the old national style big paddle picks, but if you're going to be finger picking, I highly recommend these. These are known, I believe, as picky picks. You can see the end of them there. They seem to come to a point, but believe me, they don't come to a point. And also notice that they really rounded. They rounded back to the profile of my finger almost. Now, if we look at what's going on, I'd like to zoom in more, but I don't think it's going to work. We'll try it. It's harder and harder to locate my own self. Okay. Now we're going to look at one of these picky picks here. And when I look at it from where I am, I can see this pick is hitting the string at about 45 degrees. Let's look at it again. You'll see that leading up to this rounded, the point is actually rounded. This little point is rounded, but leading up to it are these edges. And those edges produce the almost identical 45-degree angle of attack. Get yourself some and watch what's going on here. You've got the same thing going on here as you do with the flat pick, but each finger is holding a small flat pick independently. Now, the thumb pick, if we look, notice also how short this thumb pick is. I get rid of that big honking thing sticking out of a thumb pick and change it. The end is rounded. Well, guess what? If I look at this thumb pick, it's not vertical. It's not horizontal. It's producing an almost perfect angle of attack, and it is percussive as anything else. And that's the essence of what I'm trying to say here. If you want to make a guitar sound and play the way it's possible, you're going to have to develop some muscle memory in how you're extracting the tone. And as I say, it doesn't matter if you're finger picking, flat picking, playing rhythm or playing lead, where you're playing between the saddle and the sound hole, somewhere in here, you start drifting up here towards the neck, it's going to buzz. Now, in some cases, you want a nice mellow thing with the edges rounded out. There's no wrong way to play the guitar. I'm rambling on extracting tone for the people who want to make a guitar do what it's capable of doing. I haven't used a flat pick in many years, but it'll come back because of the muscle memory. And if you are using nothing, you're going to get a lot of plucking out of your thumb. It's inevitable, and sometimes I'll make sure the strings are a little higher than the rest. But what I find is that if I play it correctly, it doesn't buzz. And plucking these strings, if I do this riff, as soon as I hit this, I'm brushing the strings here I'm not plucking them, I'm brushing them, which is a controlled percussive thing. Brushing is part of percussion's repertoire. To me, these are the horns. This is your bass and rhythm. And I add the horns. Anyway, we're extracting tone. If you want a guitar to sound and play as well as it can, you might want to devote some time thinking about and looking at how you're playing the guitar, and maybe watching the guitar players that you like, the way they play. Thank you.